Hello, my name is Marika Wilson, and welcome to the first program in a series called More Ways to See God. Today and in the next coming weeks, we'll be examining the many forms and practices of various religions in Carroll County, Maryland. And with me today, I have the honor of having three great community voices. First, we have Rabbi Amy Scheinerman, and she is the rabbi at Beth Shalom Synagogue, a conservative Jewish congregation in Taylorsville, Maryland. We also have the Imam Safi Khan, who is the spiritual leader at the Al-Quda Islamic Center in College Park, Maryland. And we also have with us Reverend Miss Linda Sue Harrison, an ordained deacon in the Old Catholic Church, which is a Christian denomination. So considering that the show is called More Ways to See God, I'd like to start asking some questions. And Rabbi, I'd like to start with you. What does it mean to be Jewish?
For me, being Jewish is to live in covenant with God. And that is a way that I can try very hard to see the world as much as possible through God's eyes, so that I look at people with compassion, that I seek justice, and that I try and make this world the best place that I can make it with whatever contributions I have to make.
That's a beautiful way of putting it. Imam Safi, can you answer the question as well? What does it mean to be Muslim?
Well, to be a Muslim, actually by definition, the word Muslim means to submit or to surrender. And to be a Muslim means one who has surrendered themselves to God totally. And the way we look at it in Islam is, Islam by itself, the word Islam means submission, and it has also the meaning of peace. So in order to be at peace with the entire universe and to be at peace with God, one has to surrender to God. And so as the way we see it is that everything in the universe actually is Muslim, because everything follows the laws of God, and everything has submitted and surrendered to God. All the physical laws of the universe and so on, and the animals, the way that they're programmed, and the birds and reptiles and insects and so on, the way that they're programmed. So basically in the world, we have those people who are readily surrender, and then we have, and that's basically most of the universe. And then you have those people who are resistant, to surrendering. And that's basically among human beings, because we have a free will. So for us, being a Muslim means to surrender to God in everything that we do, to the natural laws of God, out of free choice, and to follow the laws of God, and to, in that way, to strive for peace and justice, and to make this world a better place for everyone, not only Muslims, but also non-Muslims, and everyone in general.
Thank you so much for that answer. Linda, I'm going to ask you next. What does it mean to be a Christian?
It's not much different from what we've already heard from Amy and Safi. To be a Christian is also to be a person of faith and covenant with God, to follow the teachings of Jesus that are found in our Christian scriptures, the New Testament, and in that to make the world a better place as well, to feed the poor, care for the widow, and also to walk with our God in that faith, and in doing those acts of justice and righteousness, to do those in the honor of God and to the glory of God and in the name of Jesus.
Okay, and I was wondering, since you have a particularly interesting denomination, I was wondering if you could quickly describe a little bit about the founding of that. You were telling me earlier, and I think it's really of note and interesting for the audience.
The Old Catholic Church began in the Netherlands, Utrecht Union of the Old Catholic Church. After the First Vatican Council, the bishops and leaders in the Roman Church in the Netherlands formally broke from Rome. And in that breaking from Rome over specifically papal infallibility, as well as some other some other issues, named themselves Old Catholic in honor of the old ways, what they felt were the traditional roots of the Roman Catholic Church.
Okay, great. Thank you for letting us in on that.
Synopsis.
Great synopsis.
Thank you.
So, and I'm sure it's a far more complex issue than that, but
Religion always is.
of course, and that's why we're here to, to instigate this interfaith dialogue. So, that was a basic question. I'm going to continue with another basic question for all of you to answer. Something that I think a lot of people want to know is, what is faith? How does that impact our daily lives? I mean, what is that as a concept? And I know that it varies, obviously, per religion and even per individual, but if you could maybe provide an answer based on personal experience. Would you like to start, Rabbi?
By faith, do you mean specifically faith in God, or do you mean faith in the broad sense of the entire religious tradition to which we're committed?
I would start by asking about faith in God.
Faith in God, or trust in God, belief in God, a commitment, a relationship with God, is something that can both help and support a person through life and inspire them to be more than perhaps they thought otherwise they might be. So I think that having a belief system, a religious commitment, is something that helps one in every aspect of their life to make decisions that are good decisions, and to take actions that are appropriate actions, and to find strength and courage to go through life, because it's often quite difficult and challenging and often very painful.
But you would not view it as necessarily a crutch or a support system. It's something that it's internally, it's something that you have to find. It's internally motivated.
You certainly have to find it, and
Okay.
it takes some work and some effort. All relationships take work and effort, and they take an ongoing commitment. Crutch, no. Support, yes.
Support, yes.
Very much so.
Okay.
I would agree with that very much. And then in finding that support and working on that relationship with yourself and God, that it's a very personal relationship, and it does take a lot of work, and it's not something to be taken lightly. And in those times of pain, I think our faith can grow, because that's when we really go deeper in that trust with God. That famous saying, that which does not kill us makes us stronger. It's used like a panacea, but if you think about it, about that which does not kill us, that will bring us closer to God and will bolster our faith and enhance that relationship. And I think that faith also in God enhances our relationship with other human beings. To be in relationship with God means we also have to be in relationship with others. So that faith spreads out that way, I think.
All right. So Imam Safi, do you have a response to that? What is faith to you?
Sure. I guess we're talking about the definition of faith and its impact on our lives. Is that word? Okay.
Absolutely.
For us as Muslims, faith to us is a belief in the heart, along with a declaration by the tongue as a commitment to that faith. And at the same time, it is acting upon that faith, and it increases and decreases according to the deeds that you do. In other words, if you do good deeds, then your faith increases. If you do bad deeds, your faith decreases. So for us, that's a broad definition of the word faith. What is faith comprised of in Islam, or for the Muslims? Faith means to believe in God. It means to believe in His angels, to believe in His books, to believe in all the prophets, right from Adam to Noah to Abraham to Moses to Jesus to Muhammad. May peace and blessings be upon all of them. And to believe in the last day, believe in the day of judgment, and to believe in the divine decree at the same time. So it comprises of 6 major things. At the same time, of course, it's also belief in the divine books, all the divine books that have come up to this point, which is the Torah, the Psalms of David, the Gospel, or which we term as the Injil, and so on. And of course, the Quran, which is the divine book that came to Muhammad, may peace and blessings be upon him, and upon all the prophets. So this is what faith is composed of. As far as its impact on our lives, it would take forever to talk about it, but just obviously we want to talk briefly. So for us as Muslims, the very fact that we surrender to God is done on faith because we believe in God, and it kind of colors everything that we do. It influences everything that we do. And of course, it has to do with our concept of God. Perhaps we'll talk about that later a little bit. But to begin with, it really has to do with three things as far as a human being goes, in terms of their impact on a human being's life. And that is basically that what is the position of a human being? And our faith influences that. What is the nature of a human being? What are the goals that a human being is living for? And faith influences all of these areas for us as Muslims. In other words, when we say the position of a human being, our faith tells us that, and our faith in God tells us immediately that we're not a social animal, that we're not a most advanced animal. No, we're a human being. We're a human being that God has endowed with certain qualities. We're different than animals. We're not the most developed animal. We're a human being. And we feel that when we see it that way, then it keeps us away from being arrogant. And because sometimes when people think of themselves as animals, or they begin to think in those terms, then it we begin to treat ourselves as gods, and that comes from arrogance. Or on the other hand, people go to the other extreme, and they may get so depressed that they feel that they're no better than an animal, and then there's nothing in life, and so on. So we feel that our faith teaches us that we're a human being. We're here for a reason. Our nature is a nature that involves not only the body, but it involves the soul as well. This is a direct influence from our faith. Some people may concentrate much more on the material things of life. Others may concentrate much more on the spiritual aspects of life. For us, as faith tells us that there has to be an amalgam of the two. The two have to be together, and both have to be nurtured and nourished. And then, of course, the goals in life. Our faith determines what goals we have in our life. Is our goal to eat, drink, and be merry alone, or is it to do more than that? People say that it is the fool who lives to eat, and it is a smart person who who eats to live. But it is the believer because living in this world is not the only goal of life. For us, faith teaches us that our goal in life is to serve God. And of course, in so many things, the issues that we deal with today, our faith influences all of these things, affects all of these things, like being secure, for example, and not being insecure, being content with life, being content with what God has given us, being at peace with everyone, with everyone in the universe, having hope, having a trust in God. These are all aspects of faith that how it has an impact on our life. And for the Muslim, he or she gets up in the morning, before the crack of dawn, they wash themselves, they pray, and then they pray 5 times a day, and meaning that this is what influences the faith. This is the impact on everyday life, because each prayer is supposed to teach us and it's supposed to remind us of our allegiance to God, and to keep that process up. And even right before we go to bed, the idea is to pray again, to remind us. Because who knows, if the soul may be taken at night, and then we would be no more.